Hello, guys. Hey, guys, welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. I'm your host, Charles. As you know, this is a place where we examine everything under the microscope of logic to ascertain what is most factual and logically consistent. So, today's topic, Matt Walsh wants the N word for white people. So basically, Matt Walsh wants, he is seeking a word which is sort of exclusive to white people, like the N word for black people, right? Where it seemed as a racial slur. So I'm just going to wait a little bit for people to come into the stream so that we can have this conversation because I have a lot to talk about today, and I really want you guys to listen to because I find something very interesting about America or American politics, or at least what I see on Twitter, which may or may not be representative of what's actually happening in real life. But it's kind of interesting that almost everything is racialized. It's as if Americans cannot live outside a framework of racialization, whether it be positive or negative. Almost everything has to have a racial bent to it. Almost everything has to be interpreted through a lens of race, invoking race. There's an interaction, there's a negative interaction. Oh, no, it's about race. And look, from someone who's looking in from the outside, it seems sort of exhaustive, right? Because it'll be like, okay, so is there nothing else to this event? Is there nothing else to what's happening aside the race angle, right? So yeah, so I'd like more people to join the stream before we begin the conversation. So how's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. This is Charles, your host as usual, and we are going to be having a good show today. So my show, or this show today, would be centered around Matt Walsh's tweet. So I'm just going to share that tweet, and then we will take the conversation from there. I'll share the tweet, read out the tweet, and then we'll just take it from there. So this is, yeah. So this is the tweet that Matt Walsh tweeted a couple of days ago, maybe yesterday or 2 days ago. So he said, so this is Matt Walsh. So I'm quoting Matt Walsh. I'm not quoting someone else. He said, Karen in quotes is a racial slur. If I derisively refer to a random black woman I find annoying as Shaniqua, or whatever everyone will consider, or whatever, everyone will consider it racist. The current slur is used to dismiss and degrade white women. That's the whole point. So what that was what Matt Walsh stated a few days ago. That was what he tweeted out. So he believes that when someone is referred to as a Karen, that word itself is a racial slur that is directed at white women in a bid to degrade white women. We all know the context in which the word Karen arose, right? Is it a racial slur? Is it something that's exclusive to white women? What do you guys think? I have my own thoughts to that, but I'm going to share that later. Now, this is a carryover from an event that happened earlier in the week, right? This tweet by Matt Walsh is a carryover from an event that happened earlier in the week. And that event was an interaction between a couple of young black men and a white woman in a car park. I think it's a bike car park. They were arguing over who rented a bike. So the white woman was on the bike. She was saying she rented the bike. The young men said they were the ones who rented the bike. There was a disagreement over it. She faked a cry when she saw another white man coming, and magically she stopped the crying, and somehow it just got blown out of proportion. But don't take my word for it. I'll just play the video, and we can judge for ourselves. Just take note of so many things. Take note of the woman's behavior. Take note of the black kids' behavior. Take note of everybody's behavior, because that will be relevant in the analysis that I'm going to give later on. So let's just go.
No, record him.
Help me! Please help me!
This is not your bike.
Please help me!
This is not your bike.
Please help me! Help! Please get off me!
Hey, what the fuck is going on, bro?
Please get off me!
Yo, don't let him take it, bro.
Now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Hey, now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Help!
You're not getting
Get
the
off
bike.
me,
I'm
dude.
not.
Why you took his phone? What's wrong with you?
Stupid as something. You're not
Don't touch
touching
his
my
phone.
phone.
Do not touch his phone.
I'm not touching you. You putting your stomach on my hand.
No, dude, stop. No, dude, stop. No. I said no. I said sit down.
Please,
She's just crying.
You're not crying. I
That's stupid.
got
It's
you on
my
video.
bike. I'm drunk.
Wait, you pulled it out?
Hey.
Hassan, you pulled it out? Hassan,
I don't give a fuck.
Hassan, you pulled it out?
This is my bike. It's on my account. Please move.
All right, so why don't we reset the bike?
I'm not resetting the bike.
It's his.
on my
Reset
account.
it, and then pull it out on your account.
You are active.
Let her walk. I don't give a fuck.
That's
This is
my
my
fake
bike.
crying.
Guys,
It's fake crying. Stop fake crying.
Hey, stop touching me. I don't touch you.
Hold up.
Hey, stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Why don't you take this bike?
Stop touching me.
I will.
Exactly. So take
Fuck
it.
out of here.
So take it.
Buddy, you're stupid ass. Fuck out of here. Dumbass. Your baby gonna come out with
Wait, how you stop crying?
Fuck.
Not a tear came down, miss.
Not
Not a tear came down.
So that was the interaction. What do you guys think about the interaction? What do you guys think happened there? Was there anything racial about what happened? Was there racism there? Well, interestingly enough, in a very, very predictable manner, in a very, very predictable fashion, that incident was racialized, right? So a lot of people, in fact, Tariq Nasheed, a black man, a race-baiting black man, of course, which I'm going to share his tweet, immediately called the white woman a white supremacist. So let me share my screen. Is my screen still sharing? Okay, let me share my screen. Stop screen. Let me share my screen. Yep. So this was what Tariq Nasheed said. So I'm guessing you can see the screen. So Tariq Nasheed said, a suspected white supremacist woman tried to steal a city bike from a black kid after he paid for it. And when him and his friends wouldn't allow her to steal it, she went through all the carrying tactics to try to get the black youth hemmed up, screaming for help, fake crying, and all that. Okay, so I don't know whether you guys saw the video at all because I think something else was on the screen. However, so Melinda, you said they saw her as a target, unsure of the reason, but is what happened. Well, I'll get to that point. So this woman was demonized. This woman was dragged all over Twitter. This woman was, I think she was doxxed. Her employers have put her on leave, right? She might lose her job. She might be getting threats and all that just for this interaction. Many people interpreted it as she faking, she trying to put those young black men in trouble. Well, I think there was a place, when she started that cry. That was really fake, though. That was a fake cry. But was that enough for her to be framed in that manner, for her to be framed as a white supremacist, for her to be framed as a racist? That was an interaction between two people. There was a disagreement. Both parties are claiming that they rented the bike. Both parties at that point in time did not show any receipts to show who actually rented that bike. But that 1 minute clip was enough for people to draw their conclusions. And no, this is very interesting, right? So many black people dragged this woman as a racist, as a white supremacist, and that was it. Many white people did not say anything. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Today, it was revealed that the white woman actually booked that bike. She had receipts to show that she booked that bike, right? This is where things also get interesting. Immediately that information came out, all the white people came out. And their narrative was, these guys were thugs. That they targeted her, they were victimizing her. That these were, I kept seeing the word thug and thug and thug and thug and thug. And I was like, seriously, really? Did they beat her up? Did they push her or something? Did they harm her? Were they violent towards her? So can't people have disagreements? it's the kids claimed that they paid for the bike as well. So could it be possible that there was a mistake somewhere? Maybe from the renting agency, maybe from the kids, maybe from the woman. Could it be possible? Could it be possible that people of different races can have this? They can have, disagreements, altercations, negative interactions without some sort of stereotyping coming into it. So immediately, the stereotyping of black people as thugs, as criminals came in. I was having some conversations with people on Twitter, but I just had to tune out because it wasn't going anywhere, right? Before this new information came out, all the white people on Twitter were quiet. Immediately it came out, they're all screaming, "Oh, they're thugs. These people are thugs." And then I asked someone, right? So this is the game that is usually being played. If a white person does something bad, or if a white person does something that's distasteful, that person is, if it relates to another someone of another race, that white person is a racist. If it's the case of a black person, then that person is a thug, or that person is a criminal. And I was like, you guys really don't see, you really don't see the stereotyping that is going on here. It's that oblivious to you. So no side in this, no side. They're in fact they're both sides of the same coin, because when it's convenient, both sides would invoke racist language. They would invoke racist language. Of all the things they could have said about those black boys, oh, they were thugs, because the idea is that black people are thugs and criminals. So that's a racist stereotyping. There is no bones about that. And then Tariq Nasheed calling the white woman a white supremacist, that's also a racist stereotyping, right? Because the woman couldn't possibly have any reason for claiming that bike was hers. She just wanted some black boys to be lynched. That's why she did that. It's crazy. It's it's crazy that this thing is so simple, but yet so complicated, right? And Twitter just blows things out of proportion. Twitter just makes things out of proportion. So Melinda is saying, yes, but if you see the whole video, they were aggressive towards a pregnant woman, no matter the race. That is wrong. I can say, even as a black woman, I have been in similar situations. Okay, so I played a 1 minute plus video. I did not see them being aggressive towards that woman. I saw them arguing with the woman over who owns the bike. They didn't shove her, they didn't push her. So what do you mean by aggressive? Saying, so if you feel something is your property and you find someone on it, don't you have the right to say, at least, this is mine, get off my property? Is that being aggressive? So I don't think so. That was an altercation. Both sides at that point in time could have shown their receipts. Nobody did. The woman could have shown the receipts that she paid for that bike. The kids could have shown their receipts, but this is all in hindsight. When people are embroiled in certain situations, when they're embroiled in emotional situations, they might not be thinking straight. They might not be thinking properly at that point in time to show themselves that, okay, this is what's happening. Now, there could be a whole lot more to this situation. I mean, kids these days are crazy. I saw a video of some young men going into people's houses. They were making videos. They were making prank videos, and they were just going into strangers' houses. Now, those people could have been shot. I mean, if you enter my house like that, I have a gun, I'm going to shoot you. So, is it possible that these kids were playing a prank? Probably. It's possible. Maybe more information will come out later. But from what I saw in that video, okay, so Melinda said they said that her baby was going to come out retarded. Well, that's an insult. That's an insult, right? So, what do you describe as aggressive? That's definitely what they said is wrong. I wouldn't agree with it. I think it's a terrible thing to say to a pregnant woman. I think it's a terrible thing to say to anybody in the first place. I mean, you flat out don't do that, right? I mean, say something that terrible about an unborn child. That's very insensitive. That's stupid. That's crazy. But I don't think I would consider that as aggressive. I don't think that would make them thugs. That would be. I don't think that would count as a thuggish behavior for them just saying that. So it blows my mind that it becomes racialized. That one side, before the information came out that the woman had receipts for the bike, one side was saying she was a white supremacist. Oh, white supremacist. She was faking the cry just to lynch some black boys. And now that the information has come out that, well, she did have somewhat have the rights to the bike, it's, oh no, those boys were thugs. They just wanted to victimize a white woman. And I'm like, really, you guys are that stupid? Like you can't see what's happening. You can't see that probably there was a mistake somewhere. You can't see that people were having a human moment where people interact with each other and the negative interactions happen. Must it always be in the context of race? Must it always be in the context of racism? It's something I really don't get. Maybe you Americans can help me out, but it really blows my mind that everything is racialized. And even on the other side, the side of the right, who are supposed to be the ones with the common sense to say, well, this might not be a racist incident. Once they have the opportunity to do so, they would racialize the incident. Once they think that the facts are in their favor, they are going to racialize the situation as they have done in this case, calling those black boys thugs. So I don't think that was the right choice of language. Um, all parties involved all parties involved were at fault somehow. The boys were at fault for saying mean words to the woman. I don't think they were aggressive towards her physically. Probably they should have shown their receipts to show that they had rights to the bike. Then where I would fault the woman was when she started to cry that fake cry, right? I mean, no, I get it. I get she wanted sympathy, right? But that's just flat out manipulative. That is flat out manipulative. You don't do that. People have negative. You sort out your issues, right? So I think that was the basis for which. So that woman was called a Karen. She was called all sorts of names. She was called racist. You know, her life was going to be destroyed. People were calling for her to be fired, and I think our employer has put her on leave and all manner of things. It's so crazy how everyday normal interactions could lead to someone just losing their source of livelihood just because the interaction happened between people of different skin tone. It's mind-boggling. Now that it seems as if the fact is on the other side of is flipped now, there are some people that are going to also be calling for the heads of the boys, calling them criminals and thugs, and as they have done. It's crazy. It's crazy. Wolf says if the woman is fired, she needs to sue the company. I think she does. I think people should be suing for wrong termination, right? Because she wasn't doing it in capacity as she wasn't doing anything in capacity of an employee of where she was working for. She was going home and she had an altercation with other people. Should she be fired for every little negative interactions she has with other people? Is that how people should lose their jobs? Because they have negative interactions with other people? Is that enough for people to lose their jobs? That's crazy to me. So I believe that was the context in which Matt Walsh, made that tweet that Karen is used as a racial slur. That Karen is used as a racial slur for white women. And I just laughed when I saw that tweet because it was very ridiculous, right? I don't know what you guys think. Do you guys really think that Karen is a racial slur for exclusively for racist white women or for white women? I don't think so. I understand the origins of the word Karen because it was a white woman who was sort of freaking out and making false accusation, right? So that was the context of which the word Karen. So principally whenever you see a woman acting that way, where she's acting as a victim, trying to get a man into trouble for a situation that is not correct, then they're usually referred to as a Karen. I have seen black women being referred to as Karens. There was this case of this Hispanic girl who accused some black teens of stealing her phone in a hotel. And later on, the CCTV showed that they didn't steal her phone. She was called the Soho Karen. That was a couple of years ago. So it's definitely not true that the word Karen is an exclusively is a slur that is exclusive to the white woman. It may be a slur that is exclusive to a woman. And in fact, I've seen some men being called Karens when they act in certain manners. I have seen men being called Karens. So what is this deal with mouthwash? Is he also looking for, a word which is exclusive to white people that white people can claim, just like the N word, as black people claim the N word? Oh, you can't say the N word. It's racist if you say the N word. Is it is that what mouthwash is looking for? He wants a word which is exclusive to white people. So Karen might be the new N word, or Karen might be the N word for white people, where white people get to own it and they only have to be able to say it. Now, even if that were true, even if it is true that Karen is a racial slur that is exclusive to white women, I don't think that it's even on the same level as the N word. Not that I give a shit about the N word. Anybody that wants to say it should be able to say it, right? I don't care. I don't think it should trigger black people so much. But let us go back to the origins of this word. Let's look at the etymology of these words. The N word was applied to a group of people without their consent, not because of anything that they did, not because they did good or they did bad. It was just applied to them as a status of slaves. That was how it was applied to them. The word Karen, on the other hand, was applied to a certain kind of negative behavior. So, if at all, the word Karen is rightly deserved, right? So, etymologically speaking, it's rightly deserved. But the N word is not. It wasn't as a result of the behavior of black people. That's why they were called that. They were just called that name as a derogatory name, irrespective of their actions. But with the word Karen, yes, when you're acting in a certain belligerent manner, when you're making false accusations, especially as a woman, then you can be called a Karen. You deserve to be called a Karen. And this is me calling the word Karen in a derogatory manner when my cousin's wife is named Karen. Well, but we understand the context of which the word is being used. So I think this is just as Stanley will put it, this is a tempest in a teapot, right? And I think, when Stanley says that racism is as American as apple pie, it sort of makes sense to me, because everything is racialized. At least from what I see on social media about America, every damn thing is racialized. There's nothing that's neutral in America. Nothing. White people are racist, black people are criminals. That's what you see. If there's anything on Twitter, it's always tweets though. White people are racist, black people are criminals. White people are racist, black people are criminals. And you can't even have fruitful conversations with these idiots, because there is nothing. You can't have conversations with these people. It's like they're impervious to reason. GOJ, welcome. They're impervious to reason. They're always like Arthur Watkins would say that everyone is so amped up to defend their race when it comes to, it's like everyone just wants to pick a side, and the side is the race. They just pick the side. Oh, my race is under attack. Just like when that I think wasn't that shooter, that Mexican shooter was called a white supremacist, and white people were up in arms. Oh. I mean, why should it bother you that a criminal is called a white supremacist? Why? That's not an indictment on you if you are not a white supremacist. I mean, that's not an indictment on you. Also, if a black person is called, criminal, a thug, it shouldn't bother you as a black person as well, because it doesn't mean that you are a criminal. It doesn't mean that you are a thug as well. So all these, if anything is said negative about my race, then oh, I have to abandon all reason. I have to defend them at all costs. I have to take up arms and just defend, defend, defend. And people who are trying to have nuanced conversations, people who are trying to bring some balance, some semblance of some balance to the conversation, you get drowned out because you get attacked from all sides. If you're trying to make a point either way, you're going to get attacked from all sides as either a bootlicking black person, or either as a someone who's defending the actions of black people. That's what I get on Twitter all the time. Whenever I try to make common sense, someone will tell me that that's all you do. You just always defending black people. You never call black people to account. I'm like, well, that's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to take these things on a case by case basis. I'm looking at the things as they come. I'm not applying a broad stroke to everything. I'm looking at the things as they come. And I'm judging them on the merit of the evidence that is before me. But people are what they are. So let me put the link in the description, in the chat, so people can call in. Let's have a conversation. Let's have some chat. I've talked for almost 30 minutes. You can share your thoughts. What do you think about the situation? What do you think about the woman and the black kids? Do you think there was anything racial about that interaction? Do you think the woman was being racist? Do you think she should lose her job on account of that? Do you think the kids, those black kids, they were thugs? They were just looking for a woman to victimize? Do you think that? Well, the the link is in Stanley. You can call in Wolf, GOG. You can call in Melinda. You can call in. Anybody can call in. At least let's do another 30 minutes before this stream ends. But like I said, I find it really, really, really interesting. Would I say interesting? It's not interesting. It's weird that everything is racialized in America. Every goddamn thing, at least from what I see on social media. So maybe I'm off. Maybe normal people living their daily lives in America are not so concerned about race. They're not so concerned about skin color. They're not so concerned about the racial narrative. But from what I see on social media, it doesn't seem so. It just seems. One guy was even saying, "Well, let's just start the racial war. Let's bring it on. Let's." And at times, it's always these anonymous accounts that have like one or two followers, and it was okay that drew my attention to them, because I was arguing with everyone on Twitter, left, right, and center, and he said, "Charles, look, you might just be arguing with a bot. You might just be arguing. Always check their profile, see if they have a profile picture of a real person, and see if they have followers. If not, you're just wasting your time chatting with a nameless and faceless bot, right?" So they are always the ones calling for the racial war. Let's just have this racial war. Let's have a fight. Let's fight. Well, fighting is never good. In my opinion, I think that peace is way better than war. And people should learn, just learn to live with one another, learn to live in peace. And these interactions will keep happening. These negative interactions will keep happening. But the default shouldn't be to say racism has happened, racism has occurred here. Racism has occurred here, or the black person is a thug. That's literally the description given to black people on Twitter. Thugs. It doesn't matter what they do. They're just thugs. Hey Wolf, welcome to the conversation. How are you doing? Yeah, I can hear you, Wolf. Check your mic. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. So tell me, what do you think about the video first before you go on to what Mouthwash said about Karen being a racial slur for white women? Wolf, you can talk. If you're talking, I can't hear a thing of what you're saying.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, I can. I can hear
Okay,
you.
the Wi-Fi here must be spotty. I'm sorry about that, but you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So regarding the video, it fits the narrative of America, black against white. So they're gonna paint the black people in the negative light, and they're gonna paint the white people in the negative light. Obviously, we know this because then it creates the story of racism and white supremacy. Now, I don't agree with how the white woman is being portrayed. This is where people need to start suing people for false allegations without actual evidence to back their statements. But the problem is then the black kids can also go after the people because it's got to stop. People got to stop associating criminality with black and white people as these, almighty savior people of this nation. That's the problem, Charles. Um, and my statement to Matt Walsh would be this. If you want to say the N word so bad, then why don't you take the negative connotations that come with it? Because we have a saying, Charles, everybody in America is black, but not everybody in America is the N word.
Mm.
Because the N word, a lot of people don't even know its historical context. They understand the hard R, but the A was actually adopted into hip hop culture in the 80s and 90s. And the connotation behind it was the black man struggle in poverty who makes it out and creates something of himself. It used to have a positive connotation to it that other black people could get behind. It has lost that meaning now and associated been solely with negativity. It was not always that way though. That's the key point that a lot of people don't know.
Mm. That's
That's
interesting.
why we take it offensively when a white dude says it, because if you haven't seen it and you ain't been through it, you can't relate to it. But we can better accept it coming from blacks because they still deal with the systemic issues that created that word in the first place. But not every black person in America is the N word. A lot of black people I've talked to, middle class, don't like to be called that.
Mm.
It's a specific cultural issue and the minority aspect of the black community where the crime and stuff goes on. That's where the word is mostly used and mostly accepted.
Mm. Wow,
Does that
that's
make
interesting.
sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. Yeah. So, Stanley, welcome to the conversation. Let's have your
What's
thoughts.
up, Stanley?
Hey, Charles. Hey, Wolf.
Hey.
Uh, uh, the N-word etymology goes back literally uh, hundreds of years. It's not a new word. So, it predates, the term predates the United States. So, it's not a new term.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
what
what
do
I
you
said
think?
in the chat, Charles,
Mm.
the N word, I mean, I don't even think the word Karen has been around more than 10 to 20 years at most.
Nope.
And the
It's not even
connotation
around
behind it is
five
not the
years.
same.
It's not even
Okay,
around
there you
five
go.
years.
Hey, there you go. That's the prime point. And see, here's the difference. Now, I'm fully in agreement. I don't even like black people saying the hard R. Nobody should be saying that version of it because that's not the same as the A. The A, as I just told you, has a whole different context to it. But that was done to take the power back from the word and give it black to black culture because that's how we used to refer to ourselves in the slave days. That's the difference. It still has meaning behind it, Charles. Like if a white dude just says, "Hey, how you doing?" N word, we're gonna see a problem with that because they're disrespecting us with using that word because they don't understand where that word came from, nor do they understand the new meaning of it that was created in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Mm.
And that's what Matt
So,
Walsh don't understand.
Stanley, what do you think about that interaction in the video? The kids
I
and
didn't watch the video, and unfortunately, I'm kind of late to the conversation, but I can only imagine what Matt Walsh. I actually,
I can play the video for you.
actually, Matt Walsh didn't come up with the Karen as a racial slur. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I did see that early this morning. So
Mm.
Marjorie Taylor Greene said it. I don't know whether she got it from Matt Walsh or the opposite, but um, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, so I want to play that video and I want you to give your thoughts on it. It's a 1 minute 30 seconds video. So let me play it again.
No, record it, record it,
Help!
record it.
Help me! Please help me!
Not your bike.
Please help me!
It's not your bike.
Please help me! Help! Please get off me!
Hey, what the fuck? What's going on, bro?
Please get off me!
Yo, don't not take it,
Bro,
bro.
now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Hey, now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Help!
You're not getting the
Get
bike.
off me,
I'm
dude!
not. Bro,
Why you took his phone?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
stupid as something. You're
Don't
not
touch
touching
his
my
phone.
phone.
Do not touch his phone.
I'm not touching you. You putting your stomach on my hand.
Help!
No, dude, stop. No, dude, stop. No. I said no. I said sit down.
Please help!
My bike. She's just crying.
You're not crying. You're not crying.
You're stupid.
I got
It's
you on
my
video.
bike.
Off!
You drunk?
Wait, you pulled it out?
Hey.
Hassan, you pulled it out? Hassan,
I don't give a fuck.
Hassan, you pulled it out?
This is my bike. It's on my account. Please move.
All right, so why don't we reset the bike?
I'm not resetting the bike.
It's his. It's his. It's his.
Reset it and then pull it out on your account.
You are active.
I don't give a fuck.
This is my fake crying.
Guys,
This is fake crying. Stop fake crying.
Hey, stop touching me.
Why
I
don't
don't
you
touch
take
you.
this one? Hold up.
Hey, stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Why don't you take this bike?
Stop touching me.
I will. I take
Exactly. So take
Fuck
it.
out of here.
So take it.
Please, you're stupid ass. Fuck out of here. Dumbass. Your baby gonna come out with
Wait, how you stop crying?
Fuck.
Not a tear came down, miss.
Not
Not a tear came down.
Okay, so that was the video. What are your takes from that video? What do you think happened there?
I have no clue.
Okay, so based on that video alone, this is the narrative, right? The first narrative was the woman, Tariq Nasheed said the woman is a white supremacist, that she was
No.
claiming-
Oh wow. In this video, she's a white supremacist.
Yep. So let me show you Tariq's tweet. Tariq said, can you see? Let me share my screen and show you. Share screen. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's loading.
Okay, so he said a suspected white
Oh,
supremacist.
correct Nasheed. Oh, that's always a good place to start.
He said a suspected white
He
supremacist.
has his finger on the pulse of truth.
So that was the first interaction, right? Afterwards, it was later said that the woman had actually booked that bike or paid for the bike, right? She had receipts to show that she had booked the bike. Now the narrative has flipped that those black boys were thugs, they were criminals, trying to victimize the white woman, they're possibly trying to rob her and all that. So those are the two narratives. Just from that clip alone, that's what people were able to come up with.
Well, I'm gonna spin off in a totally different way. It's like, who took the time to film this? I'm like, you know what? It's a DD bike. Who gives a F? I'd have walked away immediately. It's like, I don't want to be like, in the middle of this dumbass stuff. Some fights are worth having, some fights are not. And you know what? Um, Again, it's an old man's opinion, but that's not worth having a fight. It's a damn bike. Who cares? I don't know. It just seems kind of weird to me.
Yeah, but what's even weirder to me was the racial angle that the whole thing was taken towards, right? It's
Well,
it.
I mean, you fuss at me about bringing race into everything. That is America.
Oh wow.
Well, you said it. I heard you earlier in the show. Yeah. I keep Charles. I keep saying America is a racist country. I don't mean everyone's calling everyone N words. I mean race seems to be prevalent, and it has literally been since the beginning. It's never gone away. I'm not even sure it's ever abated. You don't believe me when I say America is a racist country? I don't mean white people or it is a maybe a better way of putting it. America is a racial country.
Hmm. So everything is seen through the racial lens.
I I don't prove me wrong.
Well,
So America.
Charles, to add on to what Stanley said, I would even go as far as to say it's a racial and stereotype country.
Hmm.
And I want Ogie to hop on because he swears it's not. And I'm just like, where are you coming from? Now, is it silly? Yes. Is it antiquated? Yes. Is it wrong? Yes. Is it evil? Yes. But this is where Glenn Lowry and I'll stop. Wolf, um, I just think that we are not facing up even in 2023. And Charles, I know you think I'm an idiot, but
Oh no, I don't. I don't think that.
oh yes, you do. But I and I could care less about race. Most people at a very day-to-day level can't. It's the effing politicians. It is people fuss at the academy. Um, it's the one thing I can agree with conservatives on, but not to the extent of a DeSantis. It's at the elite level. At the elite level, stuff like this gets perpetuated, but it's not just the left that does it. It's one of these days we'll have to talk because I'm reading James Madison's notes on the Constitutional Convention.
Hmm.
America, when I say that America was founded on race, I'm not being hyperbolic. It is literally the debates they had over forming the American Constitution. Slavery and how to handle it was literally half of the debate.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Well, no, it's fact. I mean,
It's an
eh,
interesting fact.
well, better than that. Um, and I'll stop. But um, this is why people like DeSantis don't want history debated. Literally, in James Madison's notes on the Constitution, He literally uses the S word, slavery. It's a debate. And it is just, I never understand. This is why they don't want history taught. And I'm not even sure I'm literally, it's in James Madison's notes. And he's credited with like the father of the Constitution.
Mo, any response to that?
No, I mean Stanley's hitting. And Charles, you got to add this too, is that it's like a process that starts out right. Everybody as children don't look at each other like that. Somebody implemented this into the schools, into the culture, into the society, and it gets perpetuated, generation after generation. People look at racism as just blacks against whites, whites against black. Charles, it's the entire concept of how people view other people, how society functions, how cultures clash, how they differentiate. This is very rooted. That's why when Stanley says this country was built on racism, he's not wrong. This has been going on since the dawn of time, Charles, but people don't understand. They think of racism as just slavery and this and that. It's way more to it than that.
But see, the thing is, when Thomas Sowell and I watched so much Thomas Sowell. This whole thing about everyone's had slavery since the dawn of time, it is such a disingenuous argument.
Yeah.
America commodified slavery. America in Brazil, by the way, and
That was just
slaves
capitalism in
weren't
place.
property; they were literally commodities. If you go back, and I'm sorry, I've been reading this. The notes, James Madison's notes, they literally talk about slaves as property in South Carolina, in Georgia specifically, in North Carolina too. Like, if slaves can't be property, Georgia and South Carolina would have left Philadelphia, the representatives. This isn't made up. It is literally slavery was like, if we can't have our slaves, we're not going to have a United States.
I agree with most of what you say, right?
Well,
Now,
no, I can prove it. It's
no, hear me
literally
out. Hear
written.
me out. Hear me out. I don't disagree on the history part.
You don't have
Where
to disagree. It is.
Okay, good. So I don't think American slavery was unique, right? But that
Innate to
doesn't mean,
what?
let me finish my point. So I usually don't like the arguments around slavery from either side. One side says, "Oh, it's unique," and the other side says, "Oh, it's everyone had it," right? For the fact that everyone had it doesn't make it okay, and for the fact that it was practiced in a different way in America, it doesn't make it unique in any way.
It was
Slavery was there.
commodified.
Well, the Africans who sold their brothers, wasn't that commodifying people?
No,
That was
it is.
commodifying people as well.
It is such. You know what? And I'd have to. I can't do it now. I can go back, and there is a quote in Howard French's history, Born in Black. Remember me mentioning that? There were African leaders who were like, they didn't know what was happening in America. And
Well, of course, but how would they know? They are way back in Africa.
well, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
they were capturing people and selling them. So
Well, no, they thought it was just like, how they did it, how Africans did it.
really, they were raiding
I
villages,
I can
killing
find you the
people.
quotes.
Wait, they were raiding villages, killing people,
Yeah.
capturing them, putting them in chains, and selling them as commodity.
No,
What?
not exactly. Um, slavery wasn't a slavery even in Africa back in that day, even going, Islam. Slavery was not hereditary. It wasn't a permanent condition.
But it was still slavery for the people who were
Well,
slaves.
yeah, that's a Thomas Sowell argument.
It doesn't matter if it was a Thomas
Slavery
Sowell
is
argument. It
not
doesn't
slavery.
invalidate it.
But what I'm saying, Charles, America's economy was literally built on slavery.
And there were many African kings who got rich off slavery.
Really? Did they
Yep.
build a whole country that's still called America on it?
Of course they didn't. They didn't. But it
Okay,
doesn't mean
that's
that
my point.
they didn't gain wealth of it.
Okay, you will talk about African kings. I'm talking the United States of America, who's supposed to be exceptional.
That's a claim.
I'm
Nobody can
sorry,
claim
it's a
anything.
claim.
Yeah, the claim of exceptionality is a
Okay,
claim.
well,
Nobody can
I-
say anything.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but there are people who claim that America's exceptional. We're different. We were founded on liberty, and it doesn't hold water.
I agree.
And
I
and
agree.
you know what? I'm not some bitter old black dude. I'm just saying, um, America's great, but how about let's not be like Ron DeSantis and pretend the stuff didn't happen? It happened. You don't have to apologize. How about let's teach the history?
Mm.
That's my only desire. America's awesome, but I think we would be more awesome if it's like me and my son having a conversation that the lying's cute, but you're old now. Things come out in the wash. Now, Wolf is gonna kill me. You're gonna kill me. Everyone in the I think America's biggest problem in 2023 is we're just not being honest. Black people are waiting for this. ADOS are waiting for this. We don't want shit. Reparations would be nice, but this ADOS is just like, hey, let's stop the BS about America founded in freedom. It simply wasn't.
Mm.
And it's not even slavery. America, if you go back and read the Madison's notes, they just assumed that rich people were going to run America. It's bigger than just slavery.
Well, that's what's still happening anyway. So
Well, I know I've gone on too long, but America's perfectly fine. America should know its history.
yep, yeah. So I think this would be a good place to draw this conversation to a close. I don't want it to cross
Oh,
1 hour.
I could go on
So
for hours.
Well, Charles, can I make one more point real quick to what
yeah,
he
yeah.
said?
One more point. Yep.
Is I Stanley, you was almost spot on, and I'm still gonna argue for the reparations because, like I said, when you look at the communities that were most destroyed, I mean, tracing the history to present day, a lot of ADOS is in these what we call quote unquote projects and hoods.
Right.
And I think that there's enough historical backing behind it to why those communities need it. And as far as the
Yeah,
history
but
goes, Charles, he's spot on.
you are actually your feet you're perfect in that if ADOS had it bad, um, Native Americans had it way worse.
And see, Charles, that's the key. We'll talk more about that. I don't want to go off topic, but that's why I say Black Americans and Native Americans have a lot of history similar that is not talked about neither. And
Mm.
as far as what Stanley said, he's correct, Charles. The problem is the history is so watered down that you hear typical conversation, white Republicans, well, we ended slavery, so what else do you want? And see,
Mm.
there's a problem there because the bootstrap analogy is bullshit when the communities have been destroyed. And then you have the liberal side where they're like, well, we want to help you guys, but it's not for the right reason. It's for pandering and it's for this image that, they're not them. That's the problem. The history, if it's taught properly, Charles, and people start being honest, a couple generations from now, America could probably be better than it is today.
Mm. Yeah. So, and on that note, we have come to the end of the show. Courtesy Matt Walsh. So I hope Matt Walsh gets to get his N word and patents the N word Karen, so that nobody gets to use it, the K
Well,
word
let me.
anymore.
Matt Walsh is going. Matt Walsh is going to be the next Dylan Ruth. I honestly think Matt Walsh wants to start a race war.
Well, that's his
I
business.
agree with that.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming, Stanley. Thanks, Wolf, Melinda, GOJ, every other person that came around. See you in another live stream, possibly tomorrow. So it's bye for now.